Welcome to the Wellness Help Desk with your host, Nikkei Lamodi, certified wellness coach and personal trainer. A wellness podcast focused on providing practical tips on how to curate a healthy lifestyle uniquely for you, where we discuss wellness hot topics with expert guests and have real candid conversations. It's the one-stop shop you need to get the help you've been looking for. Let's dive in. Hey, what's up, and welcome to the Wellness Help Desk. I'm your host, Nikkei Lamodi, and this is episode 50. Hi, how are you all doing? It's been a minute, and there's just so much that has transpired just internally with me, but also just major changes in my life, and I'm so excited for that. So I took a step back from just creating anything to reorient myself and ground myself in my life, and man, it's crazy what can happen in just a matter of 2 months when you do that. So I am so excited today because with the holidays coming up, it is so important to establish boundaries. And I feel like no matter where I post on TikTok, on Instagram, the common thing when I talk about boundaries is how do I do that? What does that look like? And so today I'm sharing my 5 non-negotiables that I have as an eldest daughter when I go to attend a family gathering. And the beautiful thing about this is that it doesn't need to be this over-the-top, PSA about these are my boundaries. People don't even need to know that you're implementing a boundary, which is beautiful because then they don't have to get in their feelings or be, resistant to you as you go and implement your boundaries without them even knowing you're implementing your boundaries. And so the reason why I needed to get clear on what my boundaries are when it came to family gatherings and family events is because I would feel exhausted for days after a family gathering. I would be anxious leading up to the actual day of the family gathering and just overwhelmed by all that needed to be done, whether that was explicitly communicated or just being an eldest daughter and feel like I had to do X, Y, and Z. Which is why once I started learning how to create and follow through on boundaries, attending family events became a totally different experience that actually left me honestly unbothered and enjoying being present with the interaction of being around family. So we're going to jump into the 5 non-negotiables, and I'm going to elaborate on each one just a little bit to help give context for the boundary. And I hope that this either inspires you to start thinking about your own non-negotiables you want when it comes to having boundaries with family, but also to help you see how simple it really can be. So the first one is driving myself. Okay, because I feel like this is super self-explanatory. I don't want to be dependent on anyone when it's time to leave. There's too many things that can happen. We have all been in a situation where the person either drank too much or their boo texted them and they wanted to go there instead, or they're making a pit stop on the way to the family gathering, or they want to stay longer to play another game of spades and you're like, but I'm ready to go. I don't want to be dependent on anyone when it's time to leave. So I'm always driving myself. I'd rather have someone ride with me and they can figure out Uber or get another ride back home than me drive with someone to the family event. The second non-negotiable is knowing what time it starts. This is so important because for me, I feel like it helps me to mentally prepare and actually knock off some to-do list items before the family event. If I know that an event starts at 7, and when I say that, hey, y'all, people will start making their way over later this evening. Later this evening is so vague in a Black household, but I digress. I'm going to do my errands in the AM, and then after I do my errands, I'm going to chill so I can actually recharge and mentally and emotionally prepare myself to be giving to people later that evening. So knowing what time it starts or knowing what time people are expected to start heading over or meeting up helps me to know how to prepare myself throughout the day, which feeds into my third non-negotiable, which is deciding beforehand when I plan to leave. I always know when I'm leaving. I always know. Either I say 2.5 hours or I say this specific time. And this helps me to not only mentally prepare that, hey, you're going to be talking to people for about 3 hours, but it also helps me to conserve my energy. I'm not going to go and talk to the family member that tends to have a lot going on at the very end. I'm going to start with them and then work my way to other family members who maybe aren't as emotionally taxing so that I can conserve my energy as best as I can. That way, which leads to number 4, I can make sure that I help the hostess in any way. Now, even if this is not like a physical thing where I'm helping to clean or set something out or help cook something or run to the store, maybe it's just going to have intentional conversation with the hostess. How are they doing? How have things been? What's new with them? And just be able to make sure that this hostess feels appreciated and knows that I'm grateful for them hosting everyone over or cooking, whatever it may be. And maybe this is the eldest daughter in me just being considerate of other people and wanting to manage other people's needs. But this is like a non-negotiable, is to help the hostess in any way. And if I'm not conserving my energy based in number 3's non-negotiable, then it's going to be really, really hard to have any more energy to help the hostess. My last non-negotiable is to not over-explain why I'm leaving early. Like, let's be for real. Every time you're ready to go, there's always 1 or 2 family members are like, wait, you already heading out? Like, it's still so early. Like, so-and-so just ran to liquor store. Like, stay. And typically in the past, I would literally be like, oh, no, I'm leaving because, and give a reason. I don't need to give a reason. It's like, yep, I'm going to go ahead and head out. I had a great time. Food was good. It was good to see y'all. Y'all have a good one. Get home safely. Period. There is no question mark. There is no reason to sit here and negotiate with people about why I should stay. No, I'm ready to go. That's why I'm leaving early. So these 5 non-negotiables have helped me so much be able to not be so anxious leading up to family gatherings, not be overwhelmed, and to be able to enjoy the time and it not completely leave me exhausted for days after. And I know that some of you are probably thinking, okay, I can come up with my own non-negotiables, but I already know there's always going to be a family member or an elder that just asks 21 questions and just doesn't respect my boundary. Maybe they question, why do you always leave early? Why are you always the first to go? What is it that's so important that you can't stay longer? Whatever that may be. Or there may be a cousin or the auntie who attacks your character when you are following through on your boundary. So if you know that you want to drive yourself, maybe a cousin that was like, why you always have to drive? Like, you can't ever ride with us, you know? And so I think that, 1, we have to normalize that people are going to have their own objections and their own resistance to things that you do. Don't make it a big deal. Don't make it seem like they're the villain. That is just a normal human response. When people don't have understanding about things, they fill in the blank with their own opinion, with their own judgments, until you give them more context to prepare. Prepare, like, what do you want to say when the person starts to ask 21 questions or your cousin attacks your character? Be prepared to give an answer and it'll help you. Be prepared to know, this is how I'm going to answer this kind of question. This is how I'm going to respond. And either you may decide, oh, here's the answer I'm going to give as an explanation. Or you may decide with a rhetorical question like, man, y'all love being in my business, don't y'all? Laugh, right? Make it very lighthearted, very jokey, and they laugh and be like, no, like, you good. I get it, right? Like, decide how you're going to handle it based on even the temperament of the family member and how they are. Okay, because in the end, you don't owe anyone an explanation about what your boundary is and why you're following through on it. I know over on TikTok, someone put in the comments that sometimes she's like, you know what, I just decide not to go. Specifically when she asked like, well, who all's going to be there? And trying to figure out, you know, what family is going to be there. What's the dynamic, the energy going to be in the room? And sometimes she's like, I just decide not to go, because at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, based on who's going to be there, no, that's not a function I want to really be at. Maybe that's your boundary. You just don't go. So there's so many different ways to create your boundaries, to follow through on them, and also to be able to navigate the obstacles and resistance that comes up based on the family member that gives you that kickback when you go to follow through on it. And in one-on-one coaching, we create your own non-negotiables for the relationships in your life. You'll know exactly what your boundaries are, how to follow through on them, and how to overcome any obstacles so that you can take care of yourself, not just in the present, but also long after the event or the interaction you have with that combative or resistant family member. You can hit the link in the show notes to schedule a free consultation call to learn more about one-on-one coaching. And I want to encourage you this holiday season, know your boundaries beforehand. really reflect, write them down. What are going to be your non-negotiables for the family gathering this year? You can even expound on this. What are going to be your non-negotiables when it comes to buying presents? What are going to be your non-negotiables for what you're going to commit to in terms of where you're going to cook or what family you're going to house hop to? Whatever that is, just predetermine it, and it'll help you be more prepared and more present as you spend time with your family this holiday season. I'll catch y'all in the next episode. That's it for today's episode. Thank you for listening in. If you enjoyed the episode today, head over and leave me a review. This helps others find the podcast and be one step closer to curating their healthy lifestyle. Come connect with me over on Instagram at Nikkei_Lamodi. And if social isn't your thing, join my beautiful newsletter community via the link in the show notes. To learn more about exclusive one-on-one wellness coaching, head over to rndaywellness.com. As always, remember to give yourself grace.